Deep within the isolated pine woods of Keddie, California, a quiet mountain resort town held a terrifying secret. In the chilly spring of 1981, Cabin 28 seemed like a completely peaceful and rustic sanctuary. Glenna Sue Sharp had recently rented the cabin, seeking a completely fresh, safe start for her family. She was a loving mother trying to build a stable life after leaving a difficult relationship behind. The small resort community of Keddie was known for its beautiful scenery and slow pace of life. On the fateful night of April 11th, a heavy storm rolled across the dark, dense mountain forest. Inside the cabin, Sue was relaxing in the living room alongside her teenage daughter and oldest son. Meanwhile, in the back bedroom, 3 younger children lay fast asleep, completely unaware of any danger. Sometime past midnight, a sudden, violent intrusion shattered the peace of the remote mountain household completely. What followed was hours of calculated, ruthless terror that completely defied any logical human comprehension. The attackers bound their victims with medical tape and electrical wire before starting their assault. They used common household tools, including a heavy claw hammer and 2 separate kitchen knives. The sheer force of the violence was so extreme that one knife blade completely bent over. Shockingly, the younger boys sleeping in the adjacent room never woke up during the night. The next morning, 14-year-old Sheila Sharp returned home from a fun sleepover next door. When she stepped inside the front door, she confronted a scene of absolute, unforgettable carnage. Screaming in terror, Sheila ran frantically through the woods to seek immediate help from neighbors. Plumas County sheriffs rushed to the scene, immediately locking down the blood-soaked wooden cabin. The bodies of Sue, John, and Dana lay neatly arranged on the living room floor. But as detectives processed the scene, they realized something even more horrifying had occurred. 12-year-old Tina Sharp was nowhere to be found. She had completely vanished from the cabin. A massive search party combed the vast, rugged wilderness, but turned up absolutely no clues. Investigators quickly realized the killers had meticulously selected this isolated cabin for their dark assault. Rumors began to swirl that local neighbors were deeply involved in the gruesome executions. Suspicion fell heavily on a neighbor named Martin Smart, an unstable man with a violent history. Martin's roommate, a former therapist named Bo Bubetti, also had deep connections to criminal networks. Police uncovered a bizarre letter Martin had written to his wife on the murder night. The cryptic letter read, "I have paid the price of your love with human lives." Despite this damning evidence, the local sheriff's department made 0 arrests, baffling the town. Decades later, a shocking theory emerged suggesting a massive police cover-up protected the prime suspects. Then, 3 years later, a hunter walking deep in the woods made a grim discovery. Over 29 miles away from Keddie, the skeletal remains of young Tina were finally found. The tragic discovery proved that Tina had been targeted and abducted alive during the assault. Anonymous phone calls to the police department listed the exact date she was brutally killed. Yet, the identity of the mysterious callers was never successfully traced by law enforcement. In 2016, a rusted hammer matching the murder weapon description was located in a pond. DNA testing was ordered immediately, but the results were mysteriously deemed completely inconclusive. Today, the infamous Cabin 28 has been completely demolished, leaving only an empty patch. The horrific case remains officially unsolved, continuing to haunt the quiet state of California. New detectives are still trying to piece together the shredded timelines of that night. They believe multiple people helped clean the bloody crime scene before the morning sunrise. Martin Smart left town shortly after the killings, leaving behind a trail of suspicion. Before his death, he allegedly confessed to the entire crime during a private conversation. Yet, local authorities continuously failed to act on these critical, game-changing confessions. The dark secrets of Cabin 28 remain buried deep within the chilly California mountains. Who do you think was hiding in those dark woods on that stormy night? Let us look closer at the bizarre behavior of the local sheriff during the investigation. Sheriff Doug Thomas was accused of intentionally overlooking critical tips from worried town residents. He was known to be personal friends with the prime suspect, Martin Smart. This conflict of interest led many to believe justice was actively being denied. Crucial physical evidence was reported missing from the Plumas County Sheriff Archive Room. Blood samples collected from the living room floor were completely ruined by improper storage. The incompetence seemed almost deliberate to independent reporters who investigated the cold case. Why would law enforcement protect men capable of such extreme, cold-blooded violence? Some believe Martin Smart was an informant for a larger state drug network. If arrested, he could expose highly corrupt officials hidden throughout the judicial system. Therefore, the case was allowed to quietly slip away into total obscurity. The surviving Sharp family members were left with nothing but grief and questions. Let us examine the timeline of the younger boys who miraculously survived the night. They claim to have slept through the entire struggle due to a thunderstorm. However, under hypnosis sessions, one boy recalled seeing two men with pocket knives. He described them wearing dark sunglasses and boots inside the poorly lit cabin. This crucial testimony matched the physical descriptions of Martin Smart and Bo Bubetti. Yet, the hypnotized memories were completely dismissed by the lead investigator as unreliable. The investigation continued to run in frustrating circles for many years to come. In 2004, Martin Smart's ex-wife made a stunning public admission during an interview. She admitted that Martin had suddenly burned his favorite jacket right after that night. He claimed he spilled grease on it, but the timing was incredibly suspicious. She also found a missing kitchen knife missing from her own home set. It matched the exact model used to execute the horrific crimes inside Cabin 28. The psychological profile of Bo Bubetti added another terrifying layer to the mystery. He had served hard time in Chicago prisons before moving to the quiet town. Bubetti was known to use multiple false aliases to evade state federal agents. He was an enforcer who specialized in silencing people who knew too much. Did Martin Smart hire him to handle a personal dispute with Sue Sharp? Rumors claimed Sue had discovered a secret illegal operation running inside the resort. To protect their lucrative criminal enterprise, she had to be permanently eliminated. Tina was taken as leverage to ensure the younger boys kept completely silent. This would explain why the boys were left completely unharmed in their beds. The puzzle pieces fit together perfectly, yet the law refused to move. The case files sat untouched for decades, gathering dust in dark basements. The town of Keddie slowly withered away as tourists abandoned the haunted resort. Let us skip forward to the year 2018 when new evidence emerged. A retired special agent uncovered a forgotten audio tape inside an old locker. It contained an interview with an anonymous tipster who named a third killer. This third suspect was an expert accomplice who provided the getaway vehicle. He had fled to Oregon immediately following the murders, changing his legal name. Despite the fresh name, modern forensic units managed to track his location down. He was brought in for questioning, but refused to utter a single word. The wall of silence surrounding the Keddie murders remained completely unyielding. The primary suspects have all died, taking their secrets to the grave. Martin Smart died of cancer in Portland, never facing a judge. Bo Bubetti passed away in the late 90s, maintaining his total innocence. Only the haunting memories of Cabin 28 remain for the living world. True crime communities continue to analyze the case details from every angle. Online forums debate whether a random drifter could have done the crime. But the surgical precision of the bindings points directly to calculated killers. The perpetrators knew exactly how to inflict maximum terror without getting caught. It remains a dark stain on the history of rural Northern California. The name Keddie is now synonymous with unsolved, cold-blooded American horror. The surviving children must carry the heavy weight of that night forever. No apologies were ever made, and no official closure was ever granted. The cabin may be gone, but the atmosphere remains deeply poisoned. Nature has slowly reclaimed the soil where the cabin once stood proudly. But the ghosts of Cabin 28 will never truly be forgotten. The truth remains locked away inside the quiet, whispering pine trees. Let us look at one final, chilling piece of evidence discovered recently. A gold ring belonging to Sue Sharp was located miles away last year. It was found along the exact trail where Tina's remains were recovered. This confirms the killers traveled along this path after executing the primary attack. They dropped items in their frantic hurry to escape the bloody scene. The trail of clues exists, yet the path to justice remains blocked. The state files are locked, requiring a high-level court order to open. Until then, independent internet sleuths will continue searching for the real answers. The full story of Cabin 28 is a tragic American masterpiece of injustice. A family shattered, a town destroyed, and killers who walked away free. What do you believe happened inside the dark woods of Keddie that night?